Now, I know you were very happy to have a real first-round pick on your show last Friday. That was awesome. But damn, can the first-round pick, like, have a room that's like a room or something? I mean, what did he got? He's got a painting and plastic wrap behind him? He thought that was the spot to do the show? Let me find a place where it looks like I just moved in and I have a plastic wrap around. That looks the spot to do a big show on a Friday draft. I mean, damn, that's not the Bill Belichick New England way right there. That's some amateur hour. I'm disappointed in him right there.
He just moved.
I know.
He just moved.
I know. That's why I'm having fun. You can't hide money. He went from one mansion to a new mansion. But you obviously can hide money because he's not paying enough, because somebody should already hung that up and take it out of the wrap and be done already. I'm disappointed.
NBC. That's crazy. Not surprising. My short time at NBC, I always get hit with surprise videos.
Right.
Whether it was my first show ever with the intro.
Right.
Then I come on and you're crushing me. And I've done like a bunch of podcasts with that picture. I just added that picture in plastic. Before it was just like blank wall. And I was like,
okay.
Give me the picture.
I'll put it there. But I won't take the plastic off. I'm going to leave the plastic on there.
Protect it because that's to go in the basement.
You don't know, right? I have to move it. It might hit the wall, the door frame.
I can appreciate you holding me accountable.
Yeah.
But hey, shout out Florio because the first round pick was on, even though it doesn't matter how long it goes.
He was giving me crap because I didn't do the Friday show after the draft.
Because you're busy.
Yeah. Well, I did the late night smoky drinking in the barn.
We made fun of you guys, your little balloons and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I go all night and I didn't want to do that. So he was a little snarky with me and he pushed back. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. Monday morning, I'm going to push back.
And I just caught a stray.
You caught a stray. Yeah. And you've given out lots of strays too. So we're not going to shed a tear for you. Okay. 2 things. All right. One, you alluded to me off camera before this. The moving people, you need to hurry it up a little.
Yep.
Okay.
That was all my wife's fault.
Okay.
So anybody that's married knows at all costs blame your wife.
Blame your wife. That's right. And she won't watch this, so she'll never know.
Exactly.
All right. So we're good. I'm blaming her. Mrs. McCourty, come on. All right. Second thing is you were late to this today.
Yeah, I was late.
Well, why? This is not the New England way again. What's going on?
What ends up happening is school drop off. I usually drop off my older 2 kids and my other, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just drop off the older kids, and then I'm gonna come straight here.
Right.
I didn't realize I was gonna be in traffic from the time I got on the Tappan Zee Bridge until I pulled into the studio. Mm-hmm. So I left at 8:15.
A lot of people come up work here in this area.
Left at 8:15 and got here at like 9:40.
Okay. All right. I know. I thought about being in the front step and just Belichicking you.
And as soon as I was like, I know Simms is gonna be like,
go home.
Where's this guy
at?
Well,
you get me too. I've been up since 5:30. I'm hungry
Me
right
too.
now.
I've been up since I work out now.
I haven't eaten. Oh yeah, you did. You enjoyed your morning. You had a workout. Well, I was working. I was doing a job, so I'm hungry, and now you got me mad. But are you trying to make up with me by going top button swag today?
So I'm just trying to make sure I get invited to unbutton again. I was like, you know what? I want to put on a button up nice and neat.
Yes,
to the show today.
My man. All right. We're friends again. Then.
See, that's how easy it is for us.
Very easy.
Man, as we get into this, last week we had previewed like, hey, let's come on and talk about these free agents. But he's like, you know what? Let's just live in a draft moment. And we knew this week could be a good time.
Right.
Odell Beckham signs, and that's like a big deal. Signs in Miami. And it made me kind of think of like, who's the next 1, 2, maybe 5 guys that'll sign
that are
this time of the year?
Makers,
yes,
right?
That we could look back at some point and be like, wow, that was a really good signing. And I think it's more of the defensive guys. I think that's usually what people don't talk about as much, but those guys make a big difference. Like the first guy, Justin Simmons, I think we talked about it when he got released. This guy's a good player, second team All-Pro last year. Denver's kind of rebuilding and doing different things. And talking to James Kaminsky, helps produce this show.
Yeah.
You know where he wants to see him. He said to me like maybe 3 weeks ago, wouldn't he be perfect on the Jets? And I do. I think Justin Simmons, he's played that cover forward, different. He can play in the middle of the field. So I just think having him on the Jets, I think his leadership, what he's been through, he's a Super Bowl champion. I think he can bring something. I think he's an older guy now. When you get to that age, you don't want to just join a team to say I played football. But I think with Aaron Rodgers, what the Jets have, this is a big year for them. And I think bringing a guy like him in can make a world of difference for that defense.
I don't disagree with you. They're one of the teams out there you look at and go, oh, safety is like, it's a great team, but this is one area you can look at safety and go, I'm not quite sure if they're top-notch there, right? You know, they got the kid from California, the safety, who I'm blanking out on his name, Ashton Davis, excuse me, right? And then, but he's kind of unproven to a degree, and we don't know what he's going to be, right? So I get that too, and where I like that with the Justin Simmons thing too is where I feel like he struggled a little bit the last year in Denver. It was like they played a little more man, right? And I don't think that's his cup of tea. He was better with those Fangio zones, passing things off.
And they haven't done a lot of that in his career.
No, exactly. It's not him. I think the Jets and the Seattle scheme would actually fit his skill set better. So that would definitely be one team I look at. I mean, we're in the year, I think you kind of explain, or the time of the year where it's like teams go to OTAs, you know, right? Have a few OTAs. You start to look at the team and go, ooh, we thought this guy would be ready for us or ready to contribute, but we're going to have to go look at some of the veterans out there, right? So, like, Simmons, certainly one of those guys. Tyler Boyd being out there, right? That is going to be, like, through the first few OTAs, teams are going to look at the receivers and go, wait, we don't like our number 3. Well, how much money is Tyler Boyd asking for? Let's start to think about that. Simmons, I feel like the big thing there is going to be money, right?
I agree with you.
It's just where does he price himself at? And, of course, teams like the Jets are going, we're paying a lot of players a lot of money, and we got to pay Sauce Gardner probably after this year, right? And maybe even Garrett Wilson too. So they're probably a little bit like, oh, where's his price tag?
Let's see how low this price tag can go.
Or will he wait a little longer? Will he be desperate? He's a veteran. He doesn't need to be here for OTAs, right? So I think there's that thought. I want to throw this one out at you, okay? Simmons, I agree with you, is definitely up there in the conversation. Another one that I like along those same lines that I think can still play, he was a little banged up last year, is Xavier Howard.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Xavier Howard is still a lockdown man-to-man corner, right?
And I think he's a game changer. That's what I've always loved about his game. I remember 2017, I didn't really know who Xavier Howard was. And we go and we play Monday night in Miami, and he's going against Brandon Cooks. And, you know, when you see X, you don't see, like, this guy that looks like he's a blazing speed guy. Doesn't look like that. It's just his physical stature. And Cooks runs a post, and I'm like, oh, he got him. And out of nowhere, the ball's in the air. He just catches up, intercepts the ball off of Cooks' off his head. So I think he's a guy that if he can get to a team, I think they'll accept him. They'll take him with open arms, but I think he's the guy that if you have a good defense, he takes your good defense to a defense that helps your offense now because he's going to get takeaways, whether it's interceptions, whether it's people being sloppy with the ball, punching the ball out. So I think he's a guy, and I know he's gotten tied to a little bit, but I think in Houston, a team that, you know, possibly between him and Gilmore, I could see Houston saying, hey, we could use a guy that's going to come in here ready to play, ready to help us, ready to be a game changer. And I think Nick Casero's GM has experience with Stephon Gilmore, having him on the Patriots, but also playing Xavier Howard twice
exactly
a year.
Right.
You know what that looks like.
Exactly right.
I think I definitely agree. I think Xavier Howard and, you know, bringing him up, that's why I'm throwing Stephon Gilmore. I think both of those guys, they're obviously not the same guys they were a couple of years ago, but they're still productive. They still can help you. And I think the biggest thing is all those young corners, they look for that. I remember being on the team with Gilmore, with Revis, with Talib. Young corners would come in, and they would just stare and see what these guys do day in and day out. So I think when you have some younger guys in that room, Stingley, guys like that who are already good players, but all right, how do I now take my game up to that next level where every year I'm going to the Pro Bowl, every year I'm an All-Pro? So that's what I love about getting veteran corners in your room because they bring up the value of the room right away, but they also in 5 years, you will see some of their traits shining through your young corners.
Yeah, I hear that. You're right. There's great value in that, right? Our producer here, James Kaminsky's like, what about Philly, right? I don't think Philly would be the case there. Darius with his situation, he wants a little bit more money. They got Bradbury back. They just got the first-round corner there, right? They got Cooper DeJean, who could play corner safety, maybe both there, right? I think we both think he's better safety. But I got some names with Xavier Howard. First off, I like your Houston thought. I think that's real, right? Nick came from New England. He knows man-to-man's crucial. I think we're both in the same boat. If you want to be a great defense and you want to win the Super Bowl, you've got to be able to play man-to-man in big situations, right? Just like the Chiefs did in the big moments of the Super Bowl. They locked up, they blitzed, they did it. You got to cover up. 49ers, not so good at man. What happened? Ding, boom, boom, surgical, and we just tear you apart the whole game long, right? Once we kind of get a feel for how you're defending us. So, you said Houston. The Bills are another team I'm going to throw in there. Right? No Tre'Davious White, right? Kyer Elam has not worked out quite to the capacity, right? Benford was hurt last year. He's a good player.
I thought he played well last year, but exactly.
Yeah, so that's one where I go, damn, I mean, we're talking Super Bowl window Bills, right? The price is right. Xavier
and
Howard.
That whole secondary.
Exactly.
No
gone.
High,
the safeties are gone.
No Poyer.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the veteran guy like you talk
Exactly.
about. That one pops to me a little bit. The 49ers are another team I'm going to throw in there.
A guy like that,
Yeah. The 49ers, my buddy Kyle Shanahan and all that, if there was one thing, he'd go, hey, what's one thing you'd like me to fix about your team? You got to be able to play some better man-to-man in some big situations. That would be my thing. The Rams, I look at them and go, another team that could probably use a little help back there, right? And then your old coach, B. Flo, up in Minnesota.
They did, yes.
Right?
Yes, I agree 100%.
And he coached them down in Miami. I would think that would be one where, again, the price is going to be the issue. And what is Xavier Howard expecting? Because I'm sure he's going, wait, when I'm healthy, I'm still the man. And I got some of the best ball skills in football. But the NFL's going to go, you're getting up there in age a little bit, and you've been hurt a little bit. So where does the rubber meet the road? And that's where it's going to be interesting.
I love the Minnesota because I think last year Flo implemented a lot of, I don't want to call it kind of, it was
smoke and mirrors, and he was hiding stuff.
Sound.
Right.
You're doing a bunch of different things.
Right.
No one sees it.
Yeah.
They don't see that. He said a lot of his scheme, not a lot, but he got some good concepts from being at Pittsburgh and then sitting down with the University of Pittsburgh, sitting down with Narduzzi and ask him about some things that they're doing defensively. Implemented it this year, but now all these offensive coordinators are going to go back and say, okay,
how do we pick this up? They do this.
So they're going to have to say, all right, we're going to have to now show up and guard somebody. We have to play some man-to-man, and Flo has that background of loving to play man. So I think when you first get to a team, you're kind of like, okay, what's here? What can I do? How can we be effective? And now I'm sure he's over there and he's in Kevin O'Connell's ear like, all right, you went and got the pass rusher. I love it.
Right.
All right, what's the money look like? Let's go get one of these corners. Let's bring one of these guys in that when it's 3rd and 4 with 1:40 left and we're in this 2-minute drill, I can't draw up something that's going to
I can't grab the craziest blitz and drop out coverage. Exactly right. I'm with you there. They got the pass rushers right. They need the cover guys.
Yep.
That's one. All right. Any of those other veterans that hit to you that you go like Calais Campbell? I know he's out there.
That was a guy, and I see because what I love about all the teams we name, I think for these older guys, the team has to be a contender. They have to have a chance.
Yeah.
So I look at Calais Campbell. I'm like, if I'm Calais Campbell, Kansas City, give me a call. He's been playing for so long.
They need deep tackle, depth, all of it. Exactly right.
You get a guy like that in there. You don't need him to play 80% of the snaps.
Yeah.
Come in, serve a role. And I think, obviously, every team Calais Campbell's ever played on, they've talked about his leadership. They talked about what he brings. So I think just having him in there, Chris Jones, him, like those guys create that veteran leadership that as you draft guys or you bring young guys in, find an undrafted free agent that you might like.
Right.
Those are just great guys to look up to. So I can see Calais Campbell having a fit. I just like the Kansas City because I think those teams that have the great runs somehow find a way to get those veterans who are like, I want a Super Bowl run. I want to win.
You know that, right.
And we're coming in. And exactly, New England made a killing off of that of getting guys that the teams that probably offer them the most money, they don't want to go play for. The few teams that they do want to play for, the money's not too different. So then it turns into, well,
which one gives me the best shot?
Exactly.
Where can I get that
hardware?
With
Patty Mahomes.
I'm going with Patty. That's exactly right. But yeah, I think we're in the same thought there. Calais Campbell, Justin Simmons, like you talked about. I would think Stephon Gilmore is there. And even Xavier Howard, where they're going, no, I'm going to go to a place where I can find balance and my team has got a chance here. So
you know, one name I thought was interesting on the offensive side, Ryan Tannehill.
Right.
I just thought that was interesting as just looking at different things. And I'm like, dang, Ryan Tannehill, that's right. He didn't play last year. They decided to go with Levis. But I'm like, the guy.
And you know he's good.
Yeah, I'm like, he's an effective guy. And now he's going to be a backup. So I'm like, a team could use a guy that if he's going to be on your bench, say I'm fully confident. And I thought of Detroit. I'm like, for Detroit, they had Teddy Bridgewater there last year. He's now coaching.
Protect your Super Bowl team.
Exactly. Get a guy in there that you can. I think there's some similarities to golf. A veteran player.
Yeah.
I think Tannehill, younger days, he can run and get yards. I think he still has an ability. I don't think it's as much of a strong point, but I thought him in Detroit, I thought that could be a good matchup for them to get a guy like that in their building, a guy that I think could do well in that offense. It's a very quarterback-friendly offense, so I thought that was an interesting guy that, with the way injuries happen, that any team he ends up on could possibly play a role.
Yeah, I no doubt. He's been somebody I've been throwing around my podcast. I've always been a little bit higher than the rest of the world on Ryan Tannehill, right? I know it's not sexy. Yeah, he's accurate. He's smart. He's a better athlete than people think, and he's a really good down the field thrower of the football. And I think that's the kind of team you look at. Now, like one team I've looked at with them a little bit has gone like, are the Raiders. The Raiders look at it a little bit and go, hey, Gardner Minshew's good, but he's not blowing us out of the water. And Aiden O'Connell, I'm not sure, right? And that would be one where I could look at that maybe in a fit. But again,
he could be their guy.
Yeah, he's going to wait. He's not. I don't think we'll see Tannehill maybe till like start a training camp.
I would do the same thing, right? Because I don't think you don't want to end up on a team where then you get there and it's like, well, they didn't even have a role for me.
Yeah.
Like I'll wait till training camp, wait and see what happens in OTAs and mini camp and all these different things, and then maybe I can be the Raiders quarterback. Maybe all of the rumors coming out is they're not happy. All right, I'll go there. So
I think that's the way to go. He'll evaluate and do that. But I'm with you. I mean, he's going to be relegated to backup, but one of those relegated to backup, if he gets in there, we're all going to go, damn, he's still good.
Yep.
And I would think it's a team like you're kind of mentioning, a team that's looking to go, wait, we're in the window. We're kind of good. We don't want to lose our quarterback and then fall off planet Earth, right? And he can certainly keep you in the mix. And, he doesn't get the credit he deserves. He really doesn't.
Yeah. And speaking of quarterbacks that, got hurt, Joe Burrow.
Joe B.
Back on the practice field. And, I mean, quite naturally, it should be an excitement. I saw even reports, people like, he still looks good. And I'm like, well, the guy didn't have a career-ending injury. Like, yeah, we get it. It's tough to see a quarterback throwing the ball in pain. But I'm like, it's 2024. I expected to see Joe Burrow, when he gets back out there, he's going to be ready to go. So, I mean, I just think it's such a cool thing to see these guys, whenever they get hurt, to come back. And, I think as we were kind of getting ready for this show, it raises the question again. Like, is the Cincinnati Bengals, when 100% healthy, are they the biggest contender to the AFC and to go win a Super Bowl? And I would love to hear what you think about that, Simsy.
I definitely think they're up. I mean, they're up there. I mean, here's the first thing with Burrow, right? We know he's awesome. I think we're both in agreement, right? I mean, I'm doing my quarterback countdown coming up. I mean, we know Joe Burrow's going to be towards the top of that list, right? There's no doubt. There's been one issue with his career so far. Can he stay healthy, right? And what is he going to do to adjust to stay healthy this year, right? It's been one thing after another. I hit on this with Florio a little bit earlier. It's, he had the COVID year, right? He had I pulled my calf muscle in training camp. He tore his ACL during his rookie year. Here you go. He had the appendicitis. He's never had a smooth start of the season, let alone his whole career. The start of the season, it's, the Bengals O-line doesn't have it together yet. They can't run, and they're not protecting all that well. And then he has to get his ass beat, excuse me for the word, right? And then they kind of find their way. And last year, right when he got hurt, definitively, we were kind of like, here they come. They're coming. They might be the best team in football. So, I'm going to throw them in that conversation. One, I think they're the only team in football that has no fear of the Chiefs.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right? I think they're the only team in football that the Chiefs go, oh, gosh,
this is
the
game.
Bengals, they're coming here this week. We might not win. They're not scared of us, right? So that would be the big thing. And here you see a graphic of teams that are 500 or better versus the Chiefs, right? And, the Bengals are the only team that I look at there and go, meaningful big football games late in December playoffs have won, right?
And then they have the little asterisk at the bottom.
Exactly.
We're 3-1 when our guys
here.
So,
exactly.
the 3-3, when you're the Bengals, you don't even count the 2 losses because you're like, Joe Burrow wasn't here.
Exactly right.
Of course you beat us without Joe Burrow. And I think for people that, if you've never been on a team, I think you think every big game is kind of the same, but when you play a team and like every time we play this team, it's a tough task,
right.
And especially when it's out of your division. When it's in your division, you know each other well, you kind of understand it. But I remember just being in New England, whether we played Pittsburgh,
Broncos, or I was going to say Peyton Manning or something
Denver,
like that. Right.
Like these teams for whatever, it was like 3 or 4 years, whatever amount of time, it was just like we knew that our season and our seeding was going to come down to probably the way we played that game.
Right.
And no matter if they had lost 2 in a row, won 2 in a row, we just knew this is going to be a tough game because the kind of mystique or whatever you bring, they don't care about that. They don't see any of that.
Right.
They feel like they bring that same kind of energy towards you. So I love that about this matchup because the trash talking, the back and forth, the kind of undoubted confidence that each team has coming into the game.
Right.
I think it makes, like, even last year, like Kansas City was struggling at a point, Cincinnati struggling at a point, and until Burrow got hurt, we were all sitting here like, these teams could be in the AFC Championship. These teams could be in a big game in the playoffs.
Right.
So, I love that. And it also made me think of, okay, what other teams this offseason?
Yeah, what is it?
Who's the other team? And
the AFC fell off a little this offseason, I think, as a whole.
And I think the biggest thing, and starting, I guess, from who fell off the most, I think Buffalo. I think watching what Buffalo has built over the last 2 years, especially, retired a year ago, being in that division and seeing the years of domination that we would beat Buffalo. And the next thing you know, it's like 4 in a row that they beat us, and then we would kind of get a win in there and then play later in the season, they would blow us out. So, but to watch just so many guys, like the whole defense kind of just be gone. And now we're all sitting here like, okay, what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to replace this? This isn't a rebuild because you have a quarterback who's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Right.
So just looking at them in a way and how they've lost so many guys, to me, I look at Buffalo and say, wow.
Yeah, they're unknown. I mean, me and you, we were one part of that crew that we weren't sure they were going to make the playoffs last year because we're like, man, they got a little older, right? Von Miller injury. Who's that difference maker in the front seven? Milano's going to be coming back from injury. Tre'Davious is gone, like we talked about. You said it, the safeties are gone. There's no more Diggs on the offensive side of the ball. Think of you, whatever you might. I mean, he's still damn good. So, and then also, there's some unproven commodities. Like, right? Can Khalil Shakir, can he carry the workload or an extra workload? Right? Does Curtis Samuel come in there and stay healthy? Right? Dalton Kincaid, does he make the next step? What's the offense look like? I'm with you. There's definitely questions there to go, are they going to be quite the same? I think we both think they're probably going to be a pain in the butt, right? But it's like, how good?
With Josh Allen, you feel like no matter what, they're going
to be in the game, and they're going to be a pain in the butt. We know that. But, listen, I look at the AFC just real quick and go, Baltimore's got some of those same things. They lost a ton of players. That O-line, what's that going to look like, right? There's no Patrick Queen. Marlon Humphrey's a year older, right? Chuck Clark gone. See you later, right? So that's another one where I go, hey, those are like two of the teams we look at to challenge the Chiefs, and I got to kind of see them at first to really buy in.
Because they brought in Derrick Henry.
Right.
I like Nate Wiggins coming out of the draft.
Of course.
So, again, you're like,
I like it, but we got to see it.
Exactly.
We got to see it a little bit. Houston made some big moves.
They made big moves.
Big moves. Houston, you look at and go, I think everything should be ready for prime time, right? Except here's my one worry. You see, I said this to Florio the other day. I worry that they're young and that they're a little bit like, hey, we went to the playoffs last year, and it was
now
awesome.
we added guys.
And now we added guys, and everybody expects it. And, C.J. Stroud is a star now. My son thinks he's him. It's a different mindset. And, that's my thing is, like, are they ready for what's coming for them?
And I'm interested to see how much Nick Caserio brings in some of the Patriot kind of atmosphere to the offseason. Like, some of our hardest off seasons was right after winning a Super Bowl. Just like the reminder of this is really hard to do. And I think this team is going to need that constant reminder of we didn't do anything last year. I know we're excited because a lot of people on the outside thought we were going to be bad, and we win and we won a playoff game, and then we got to go to Baltimore in the division. But the guys that are in there, D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caserio, the guys that are running this operation, they have bigger aspirations.
Yeah,
and I think sometimes, like you said, with a young team, it has to be that constant reminder of, hey, I'm not trying to make this place miserable, but I also want us to realize there are a good amount of teams who win a wild card game and then lose in a divisional, and they can end up doing that year after year after year, and all of this potential goes out the window. And I'm with you. I love everything they did. And I love that it's not just the draft where we're talking about, they draft. Because I kind of get annoyed when it's like, they drafted this guy. And I'm like, we don't know how that works.
He's a kid. It's going to be getting used to the NFL world.
I thought C.J. Stroud would be what he was last year. And I know everybody's like, we knew. No, nobody knew that. So I love that it's Daniel Hunter.
I had him won tier 1, just so you know, by himself coming out, just so you know.
Only him.
Only him and by himself, right.
If you don't know, listen to Chris Simms. He knows what he's doing right
every now and then.
But I think they had the best offseason for a team to come out and say, hey, we're going to take this huge step forward.
We're good, but we're going to put all the right pieces where we needed it, and now we're going to be like, watch out, good.
And there's some other teams. I think Tennessee has to feel good about getting Calvin Ridley and doing different things. I think that they have to feel good about that. But will they be in this category to be a contender to Kansas City? I don't know about that. But I think they're going to make the AFC South interesting. I think that whole AFC South, I think Jacksonville, I think Indy, I think
they've grabs,
they've tried to do a better job this year offseason to say, hey, I know everyone thinks Houston's about to run away with this, but we're going to be competitive. So
Houston slips up. Just a little bit. That could be very. And Jacksonville still got talent there. There's no doubt. The Colts aren't a bad football team. We know, right? And Tennessee, I think, is better than people. So we're getting down into this conversation as the AFC. I think what we're saying is we think Cincinnati will be real with Kansas City. We think Houston's going to be real as long as they can manage expectations a little bit. We want to see Buffalo and Baltimore a little bit. We know they're going to be good, but how good, I guess, is my question, right? But then there's some teams under the radar. Like, does Harbaugh turn around the Chargers? I don't think that gets to that point yet, but pain in the butt in the AFC.
And I think Harbaugh makes us question that we think that maybe it doesn't, just because of his track record. He's done such a good job.
He's going to run ISO, right? Better than anybody in football. They're going to play D.
I don't really trust what they have at receiver.
No,
it's valid. And I think Herbert's a really good quarterback. But that's a lot to lose. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, they got their hands full. So, but here's two other teams I think we should throw out just into the conversation here for as we sit right now. Let's not forget about the Jags. We know they got, and they did some good retooling this offseason as well. And then the guy that's, annoying in our ear sometimes, the Jets, all right? The freaking Jets. The Jets are certainly one of those teams that we can't forget about. It's an awesome roster. It is Aaron Rodgers still. I know we all got to see that and all that, but I do look at them to be as a team that didn't make the playoffs or dark horse team that we could go, ooh, they could be a real player in the AFC.
And I think it helps them what they went through last year. At this time last year, all we kept hearing about, and not necessarily from the players, but just everything surrounding this team was they're going to go to the Super Bowl. This is our year. And I think because of Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, you have all these Jets fans and everybody's kind of like tiptoeing. All right, we should be okay. Hopefully we make the playoff. And I think that kind of breeds more into what they want to do this year. They're a team in New York, New Jersey, whatever you want to call it. There's always a lot of hype surrounding them. They're always battling against the Giants for that kind of fan favorite team. But I think this year with Aaron Rodgers, I think they're going to kind of just ride right under the radar and be able to just play football. Not worry about being on Hard Knocks and doing all the other stuff. Just focus 100% on football and being a better team. And I think they're a scary team because I think of what happened to Buffalo. Now you look in the AFC East and you're like, okay, Buffalo should be the favorite, but Miami's there. Miami's going to have,
I think Miami's another team to question here a little bit.
Phillips is coming off injury. Chubb's coming off injury.
O-line's got issues.
Right?
They lost their best guard. Their center's not there. Christian Wilkins is gone.
And this is a team with, even with all those guys, I think a lot of us felt like, yeah, they're a good team, but until they run into the Chiefs or that one team in the playoffs that are going to just come out and be physical and aggressive.
Right. Can they win a tough, physical, gritty
whether
game?
it was going to be the Chiefs, Baltimore. We just felt like, well, if they have to play them in the playoffs,
they're not going to beat them.
They're not going to win.
Right.
So you're already coming off of that, and then you lose some Christian Wilkins,
of those guys.
tough physical player.
Right.
So again, I think the AFC East. I think if I'm the Jets, we don't need to talk about it. But if I'm in that building, I'm like, hey, the AFC East is ours this year.
Yeah,
like this is how we have to train. This is our mentality. We're gonna go snatch the AFC East. So I like it.
I hear you. I'm with you there too. I think that's about all the teams that I got on my radar AFC wise. I mean, we can't forget the Browns either. The Browns are the other one too. I've got to say that before we move on here to the next subject.
No,
the Browns, right?
We can't leave them out, and especially the way they got embarrassed.
Right, exactly. You got to think there's a chip on their shoulder, and you got to think if Deshaun Watson can get to what he was, which is, again, this is a big year. It's year 3 of this contract. He's got to start providing. Hopefully, he can stay healthy. But if he can be somewhat close to what he used to be, I mean, the Browns we know are set up. They're an all-star team.
And if Pittsburgh gets decent quarterback play out of that room,
that's where I think we could see some new teams maybe challenging the Chiefs a little this year. The Bengals are the old regulars, but I think we could have some other teams infused in here.
That's what's so good about the NFL, right? The season ends, and we have these teams that we all kind of leave the season saying, these are the teams of the future. Right. And then the next season comes, and whether it's Pittsburgh or was it Houston this year, one of these teams come out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, wow, we didn't expect that. So, hey, New England Patriots fans, it could be you. It could be you.
It won't be you. I can promise you that. Sorry, New England.
Speaking of, you just talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
You got your quarterback rankings coming up. So I mentioned New England. We know Drake May wasn't high on the incoming rookie quarterback list, but just break down, how do you kind of get into this when you're breaking down quarterbacks? You're doing a top 40. For one, that sounds like a lot of film watching and a lot of time dedicated to watching these quarterbacks. So how do you kind of go through this process?
Get them all on a piece of paper, right? That's how it started. Every quarterback in the NFL. I start to cancel guys out, right? Like, he's no way is he in the 40, right? Yep. I usually get down to a point where I go, okay, now I got to start to whittle it down. And I go, damn, I got 49 guys for the 40 here. That I'm like, oh, crap, who am I going to cut off? That's where the film starts, right? It's some of these. The bottom part usually is some of the hardest stuff.
Things. Who's in and who's out.
Because 35 might be a backup quarterback that you go, damn, he's good. Like, he just doesn't get to play, and he's a backup. And he's better than team starter. Who I'm going to put at 29 or I want to put at 29. And then I got to go back and watch preseason because maybe the guy didn't even play last year. Where I go back from 2 years ago and go, oh, he played 3 games. Let me just write a few notes about what he did and what I liked about him then. That is usually like one of the hardest parts. One of the cooler things I'm seeing this year, though, about what I like too, and it's all nitpicky, right? It's very nitpicky, and that's the worst part about it. Like, I'll get done with 10 through 20 and go, okay, this is good. Now let me watch some film, and I'll go, oh, gosh, 14's better than 12. I can't do that. Let me switch that and do that and get into that. What I've got into this year, though, is, and I think you would agree with this, the top 10-ish for the most part is not really that debatable right now in the NFL. You might debate the order,
but
the names themselves are the ones at the top right now, where there was a few years where I was like, holy crap, the top 10, there's 17 top 10 quarterbacks, right? You got towards the end of the Brady, Roethlisberger, and all that. I'd be like, oh, gosh, I mean, Ben's so good. This guy, and then there's the young guys. And then the young guys, of course, always become the tough thing as well. Because like last year, I mean, I put, C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson in there, and of course, right? And a lot of the times I look back at it and go, I had Mahomes in my top 40, and he didn't even play his first year. I should have moved him up higher. Like, when I go back after the year, C.J. Stroud last year, I was like,
last year we talked about Jordan Love. You were like, I wanted to put Jordan Love higher, but I kept going back and forth, and then I didn't, but I really knew.
I knew. I just chickened out. And I was like, okay, wait, evidence-based. I don't have enough yet to really back up my claims, even though I felt it from what I saw and all that. Those are the toughest ones. But like last year, C.J. Stroud, I get during the year, and, I always every year go, wait, these rookies, right, some of these top ones, and then a year gets over and I go, I wish I would have followed my gut or instinct and put them at 22 or 23, even though they hadn't played in the NFL. And everybody gets on me on social media and goes, how could you put a guy that you've never seen in the NFL above this guy? And it's like, well, I've been around it for a while. It's not like I'm just throwing a dart, but those are the ones that I struggle with. And that's like this year. They'll be tough because I think Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are a real deal Holyfield, right? And I think J.J. McCarthy really fits Minnesota in that offense and O'Connell, right? So those are ones where I go, I could see them having all rookie success. They know how to play quarterback. They're not just talents, right? And all of that. And so that'll be my struggles here the next few days.
How does that play a part when you rank these guys of the actual system they're in? Like, do you watch some guys who you're like, I love their talent, I love what they do, but I don't know the weapons, the system. How much does that play a part?
Big time. Yeah. I try to play it like we're all in the same system. We all have the same talent, right? I'm not going to sit there and go, oh my gosh, look at the 3-foot throw Tua made and Tyreek ran for 87 yards. And we go, well, that moves Tua up 7 rankings. I mean, that's unbelievable, honestly. And again, I know this is going to look like or feel like a shot at Tua or not, but no, I think a lot of quarterbacks in football would have gone to Miami and led the league in passing yards if they played in Miami. That's not a shot on him. That's just what I feel. But that's part of the balancing act of going, wait, what's around him? What should we expect? Right? A lot of the years I've come away with Dak Prescott because people always get on me on that. And I go back and watch the film and I go, damn, the offense stinks. They're not as talented as people think at receiver. They don't help him a whole lot. He makes a lot happen with not a lot there. And I give that credit. Or big throws with pocket collapsing and he still makes a big throw down the football field. And the degree of difficulty's up there. And sometimes the normal fan doesn't realize it. So I try to balance that as best I can.
That sounds really
It's torture.
Really tough.
It's torture.
To be able, especially because whether you're right or wrong, the people that are going to read this have such a passion for their team or their quarterback that it doesn't matter. You can state a clean fact of, hey, this guy's done this guy's done that.
Right.
You can pull up PFF. You can pull up all these analytical things that people who have never played a game can still, and no matter what, they'll be like, he's just a hater.
Yeah, he doesn't like him. He's wrong. Right. All that's got to be, I try to block that noise out. And just like you do with anything else, it's like we've been around people. We've seen a lot of these great players at these positions, and you've been taught by people. And I just always go back to that, and I lean on that. And then I try to remind myself every now and then that, hey, Joe the Plumber's never seen an NFL quarterback in person in his life, and I got to remember, I like Joe the Plumber, but I can't let him ruin my day because he's called me an idiot about my quarterback ranking. So I try to do that. Kaminsky had a question for me. Oh, injuries. Here's injuries. Does that play a part of it? A little bit. Like, let's just go to the top. Like, listen, we know Mahomes is one, okay? That's just in. All right, okay. Now you get to, like, the Josh Allen, Burrow, right? And that.
And that Lamar Jackson.
And Lamar Jackson, right? And I've docked Lamar when he got hurt 2 years in a row a little bit. Like, hey, availability is an ability, right? Those are things that I definitely will struggle with here. Allen doesn't get hurt ever. Burrow gets hurt all the time. Burrow's awesome. You can certainly make the case that Burrow might be better than Allen. I get that, right? But at the same time, I'm going, damn, Allen running quarterback power and putting his head down every game, and he's still available and playing. And so those are things that'll get tough there in that spot. And I don't even have it figured out yet there.
So because I don't have to do all that research, I'm just going off the top of my head. And
let me hear it.
You already mentioned Patty Mahomes.
Yeah, that's one.
And everyone doesn't like it, but I think because I played against Josh Allen so many times, I'm just like, I love his game, and I hated it. Playing against him, I hated it, but I just always feel like playing against him, it was just like, man, we have this huge challenge. So for me, Josh Allen's that second guy, and I think
the league and the fans. There's a disconnect of how Josh Allen's viewed a little bit.
I was just about,
right? I didn't mean to cut you off, so go ahead. But there's a fight there, and
I just
people don't realize
hate that people will watch this guy play a great football game, right? They'll say, man, like, this guy hasn't played well, that guy hasn't played well. They couldn't get the running game going, and then he broke a run, and then he did this. And then he'll have one play in the game, and they'll be like, see, he's just a bad football player. He's a bad quarterback. And I'm like, but, like, they wouldn't even be in this situation.
Right. They're blown out if he didn't do all the things he did already.
Like we can't discredit that. And I get it. You want your quarterback to make all the clutch plays and the clutch moments and everything. I understand that fully. I played with Tom Brady for 10 years. I witnessed it.
Yeah.
But it was also that the games or the few games that if he didn't make the play or we got strip sacked or something like that, we didn't walk away and say, man, this guy. It was just like, this guy's phenomenal.
Right.
Just today wasn't our day.
Right.
So for me, Josh Allen is there. For me, then I would go Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
The only thing that crushed me with Lamar Jackson last year was the playoff game.
Yeah.
I think it was the full offensive strategy. You led the league in rushing attempts, and then in that game, you just didn't, and it was just like you threw the ball way too much. So that made me a little weary. And then filling out, I would say my top 5. I would go Joe Burrow coming back.
Yep.
And then my 5th guy, I think, coming into this year that I fell in love with last year was Jordan Love.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Love, the way he played, I think now coming off another year, seems like he has that itch to be great, right? When you have to follow behind Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, there's no kind of I arrived moment because everything you've done, when you look up, you're like, shit, they did that. They did better at that. Oh, they had to. So you're always comparing yourself against 2 of the greatest quarterbacks that have played, and they're in your franchise. Yeah. So you see them every time you walk in the building. You see their pictures. You see their jersey. So I just feel like he's not going to have that kind of regression for a guy that, it's not his first year, but his first real snap starting week after week. I think he grows upon that. I think he's even a better player this year. So.
I don't doubt that. I love me some Jordan Love, right? I mean, and I hear you there. I don't know if I'm going to go top 5 with him, but no doubt he's is in that conversation, right? What gets interesting is you get right there, you start to get into, Justin Herbert, right? Trevor Lawrence a little bit, okay? Matthew Stafford into that conversation.
Stafford's like what you mentioned earlier with Brady and those guys as they got older. Stafford doesn't get mentioned as often.
But when you turn on the film and watch it, oh my gosh, how many great throws and decisions can he make? Incredible, right? So we do forget about him. And you forgot about C.J. Stroud.
I did.
Yeah, right. So that's going to be another guy that's in that combo. But to our point, here's some of those names. I think the names are there. It's just about where they go and how they do it. I like your 5 though.
Because
good.
I'm a big fan of Herbert when you watch the talent level, what he can do. I'm wondering, like, why is it not all together yet for this team? And I think now this year is a big year because – hey, with Brendan Staley, it was always questions of, all right, we went for it on 4th down. All right, this was a bad decision. Now you got Jim Harbaugh. You got a guy who is certified. This is a really good football coach. He's won in college. He's won in the NFL. He's taken the team to the Super Bowl. He's won a national championship. So now it's like, all right, we got to go. And I just don't want to hear at the end of the season, well, Harbaugh's not really his fit because he likes running the ball. And I don't want to hear all that. This guy, Herbert's a guy. Yeah. Every talent, every tool you could want in a quarterback.
Exactly.
I think he has to be in the category where we're walking away from the season and we're like, this guy's like, he's right on Mahomes' butt. Like, he's coming. I would want to hear that from Herbert this year.
I think I hear you there. I think he's got that type of talent. He probably, hey, Harbaugh maybe can make him a better leader, a little more vocal. That guy a little bit.
Be that guy.
Yeah. And I think, I could be one of those years where stats don't look as good,
but quarterback
play is better. Team is better around him. They play a more complementary game. And we know with Harbaugh, for the first time in the Justin Herbert era, they should be able to run the ball, right? Which, and of course, him off of play action with that laser he has for an arm, right? One last thing before we move on to the next subject. Like, you talked about, the Josh Allen stuff too. People got to look at the rest of the team. A lot of their losses last year, Josh Allen walked off the field and they were winning the game. I checked the rule book. Let me just see. The defense is allowed to stop the other offense and help the Buffalo Bills win the game. I just
you know what I love about that? When you play against these good offenses, right? We would come into the week and they're like, their offense has to just do a good job maintaining the ball, keeping the other offense off the field. And I remember we came in one time and Bill goes, that. You play defense, you get paid. Go play defense. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. Go.
Yeah,
so
right.
don't tell me like, hey, they lost because Josh Allen scored too fast.
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
didn't know.
right,
Like, the defense, and this is any team. When you play defense, there's no like, we want the quarterback to do X, Y, and Z. No, like, we gotta go. And that was some of our worst losses being on the Patriots when we played games in Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. Offense goes and does their job, and then we give up a touchdown going into the 2-minute drive. It's like, we lost the game. Like,
right.
Like, what else? Oh, you want him to get the ball back and then score again? And make sure that there's only, 2 seconds
Why couldn't Brady
left?
throw a better Hail Mary?
I agree with that. You can't. I just hate when we crush a player for having an outstanding game and being the reason, and then we say
being the best player on the team, but we're going to blame him.
This guy's a problem. People hate playing against him. Go to any defensive player; they do not enjoy.
That's where I was
Same
trying
thing when
to
you
say.
play Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
You don't enjoy playing against him. You don't enjoy playing against Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, he might not run you over or juke you out of you, but San Francisco found out. All right, we kick a field goal in overtime. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 4th and 1. All right, we got it. Oh, they get the first down. They get another play.
Exactly.
Next thing you know, your biggest fear is, we lost. I'm anxious to see, does Aaron Rodgers still have that ability? Because even my last year in 2022, we go to overtime with Green Bay. Green Bay wasn't that team. Like, they were still trying to develop those young receivers. They hadn't even produced yet, really. And we start overtime. They start with the ball. We get a stop. We get the ball back on offense. We punt.
Yeah.
And as defenses, as we're taking the field, as defenders, we're like,
we already stopped them once. I mean, can we do it again?
Can we rally? Like, can we? And I get it. People are like, oh, you can't think like that. No, like, we're all human. You do. Like, you're playing against a guy who historically, that's what he does.
On the regular.
That's what he does. So the last part of the little story time, I know everybody's doing the same thing. They checked in and tuned in to the Tom Brady Roast. So the Tom Brady Roast, it surprised me a little. I didn't know it was going there. Kevin Hart started off aggressive.
What?
I mean,
that to me was the shocking thing.
Oh, and I think that's what Kevin Hart's at his best.
When he was like,
strays everywhere.
You didn't know she's going to, and she's still a white belt with 8 lessons a day. You didn't, that was when I have yet to watch the whole thing. But I've seen a lot of clips and everything. But when I saw that and that was the opening, I went, oh my gosh, this is how he came out the gates here? And Brady was uncomfortable right away.
No doubt about it. Because no matter probably how much you think about it, and you're like, I know what they're going to say. You still have to sit there and be like, all right, I gotta talk to Giselle again. Like, once this comes out, like, we're gonna have conversations. The first conversation is gonna be a bit awkward. It's gonna be a little rough. So credit to Tom sitting and doing that,
hanging in there.
But coming in, I thought it was gonna be. I was like, all right, Edelman's gonna be the guy that takes it too far, and not knowing, I'm like, these comedians came out in attack mode. Like, when you watch Sam J she's from Boston. I mean, I was dying laughing the whole time. Her whole set having a kind of Boston affiliation to the attack. But I kind of thought like poor Drew Bledsoe, but I thought he did a good job.
I haven't seen him yet.
He did an awesome job of kind of almost like F. Brady, of like this feelings of, for everybody else that has been kind of wondering how Drew Bledsoe felt. The way he roasted him, it was like, Drew, like that is how you should feel about Tom Brady. Don't be happy.
You're justified.
Go get him. So, I mean, it was one of a kind, and I think hopefully we see more of these. Like, see more athletes do this, because I think for Tom, I think it made people who probably hated the Patriots and hated Tom be like, again, like,
personalize
this
him
guy. Like, he's very relatable. Like, all right,
it definitely is. That's what people don't know about Brady.
They're all saying the same thing I say about my ex-wife. Like, somebody is sitting there saying that. So I thought it was pretty cool, man. They did a good job.
I will watch it at some point. Belichick, it's a good job by him. He's starting to look more and more human to the rest of the world.
Taking shots on stage.
I mean, come on, that's crazy. The amount of like football hierarchy that was there. I couldn't get over that. The spectacle and the people that showed up at the old Forum, that was pretty impressive. It really was. The star of stars. I don't know if they can fill a place like that for everybody that they do it for.
That is true.
Brady's special that way, right? But no, that was cool. First, like, glaring thing I noticed that like right off the bat is why the are you there? Like, why did you not get invited? You're not in the trust tree? You're not in the circle of trust?
I didn't get the invite. I don't even need to be on the stage. Let me just go sit. Like,
damn.
I just want to, you kind of see where you kind of fall right there.
Apparently, I mean, because Rodney got to go, so now we know who Brady's favorite Sunday Night Football host is from the team, okay? Rodney got to go.
For one, we were already slim on defense. It was Rodney and Willie Mack were the only two defensive guys there, period.
He won 2 Super Bowls with Rodney, right?
Yeah.
He won 3 with you, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's messed up.
They're closer in age, man.
Just till the old heads sticking together, huh?
Old heads, like it was like
the young
bring
guys
your knee
brace, okay, guys?
They do the same things. They got the same recovery process the next day, preparation for the event. So,
what would have been if you got 1 minute on the stage in front of the mic? What would have been your roast of Brady? Like, what would have been the story you could have told, or like it fabricated a little bit? Would you have anything where you? I
would have definitely attacked the times he's whined to the defense, like
like in practice
at his Hall of Fame.
Come on,
that's
man.
what I'm attacking. Like, for one, I didn't get invited to the roast, so if they get me anywhere near a microphone on June 12th for Brady going in the Hall of Fame, that's going to be my roast time, and everybody's gonna be like, "Man, this is the wrong time. Like, this is not what we're doing right now." And I'm like, "But I missed. I
didn't get mine in.
I missed So anybody who didn't get invited." June 12th, like, this is your time. Vince Wilfork, like, Big Vince wasn't there. I'm going to make sure Vince, I'm going to put the battery,
him on it.
Put the battery in his back. Mayo's got to talk. He's a head coach now.
Right.
Put the battery in his back. Like, we got to be on attack mode.
So you would get on it, though, for the complaining of what the defense
no
did.
doubt
Like,
about
he'd get mad, what?
He
You guys
would
do something
whine,
unrealistic?
Punt the ball, or like, we're not supposed to be doing this. And he would start doing hurry up and running the ball in 7-on-7. But the guy I wanted to really see get a chance to go was Matt Light. Matt Light is a guy that, like, no one really knows, so Netflix is probably like, we can't put him on, like, we can't.
But Matt, he would let it fly.
Would have been hilarious. I don't think he would have needed someone to write his jokes.
Right.
He would have just went, and I think people would have walked away and been like, holy shit.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about Matt Light. I know he's quick on his toes.
Incredible. Like, Matt Light, given time to draw up something, come. I think Matt Light would have been a stud in that environment.
I would have liked.
No doubt.
Hey, good old linemen, they usually know their quarterback, and they're usually very smart and quick-witted.
Lastly, if you had to pick an athlete that you want to see next do the roast, who you going with?
Ooh, that's a good one. Gosh, right? I mean, LeBron would be, you think about LeBron for sure.
Some other people that came up, they were throwing out like A-Rod.
Yeah, A-Rod. I feel like Travis Kelce with the Taylor Swift thing would just be open season right now. That would be amazing.
No way she would be like, no shot.
A-Rod better be careful. A-Rod
would be intense.
It'd be intense.
That would be intense.
It'd be really intense. But that would be a good one.
Another guy, Kevin Durant.
Oh.
Kevin Durant.
That might be intense too. That would get a little sensitive. He might get up and be like, how did you say this?
And I'm thinking of
Rodgers is another one.
Aaron Rodgers,
right?
Yep.
I mean, we could all ask about his conspiracy theories and all that.
And you know what I wonder is, when you get roasted, do you have control over who gets invited to roast you?
I would say so.
Right? You get to be like, nah.
There had to be something in the contract that said, don't make fun of Mr. Kraft, and that one joke did it, and Tom went up there and was like, hey. Don't do that again. We told you couldn't do that. That was his. I feel like that's what that was there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So it would be interesting though. I'm all for the celebrity roast. So next time, hey, if anybody else on the Patriots get roasted, I want an invite. Bill Belichick, if you get roasted.
I mean, you were just sitting courtside with Robert Kraft at the playoff game, and he couldn't be like, hey, jump on my jet.
I didn't even think about it. I should have said to him, like, hey, the roast, what's up?
Right.
That's what happens. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Yeah, that'd be exactly right. Squeaky wheels get oiled.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Appreciate you coming, sitting down. Football Night in America.
You're the man.
Podcast.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah,
thanks for showing up.
Pretty soon we're gonna be in the season.
It's coming.
Yeah,
here we go. You're spending way too much time with me then. See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.